Picture this scenario, because I bet almost everyone watching this has felt it in the pit of their stomach at least once. You are sitting in your living room after an exhausting day at work, and it's raining steadily outside. Suddenly, you look up and spot a yellow water stain dripping from the ceiling. Your heart sinks. Logically, you know that calling a handyman right now to fix the roof leak would cost about $200. But you open your banking app and see exactly $55 left to cover groceries until the end of the month. So you decide to ignore it. You grab a bucket to catch the water, telling yourself it's not that serious, and you silently pray for the rainy season to pass quickly. 3 months go by. Just because you didn't have that $200 up front, the consequences catch up with you. A massive storm hits, and that small leaking crack causes an entire section of the drywall ceiling to collapse. Pouring rainwater floods the living room, short-circuiting the entire electrical system and completely ruining the hardwood floors beneath. Now, the cost to repair the ceiling, rewire the electricity, and replace the flooring skyrockets to $4,500. It doesn't stop there. Since the house is unlivable, you were forced to rent a hotel for a week, costing another $500, and you have to take unpaid leave to supervise the contractors, vaporizing another $400 in lost wages. That initial inability to pay $200 has now spiraled out of control into a $5,400 financial catastrophe. This isn't just bad luck or the universe mocking you. This is a cruel mathematical trap. It is the distinct, measurable, and suffocating cost of not having money. When you placed that bucket under the leak, you might have been fooled by the illusion that you just saved $200. But the truth is, you didn't save a dime. You were simply borrowing from your own future at an extortionate interest rate, one that is ready to drown your entire cash flow in the months to come. And the heaviest price you pay isn't just the numbers on the receipt. Scarcity forces your brain to constantly operate in survival mode. When you are perpetually anxious about a depleting bank balance, your capacity for long-term strategic thinking is paralyzed. It forces you to make patchwork, day-to-day survival decisions instead of actually addressing the root cause of the problem. Hello, my name is Leo, and I spend way too much time thinking about the hidden mechanics of wealth and the invisible equations that keep countless people stuck on the hamster wheel. If you are someone who feels like you are working harder every single year, but your bank balance never seems to actually go up, or if you are constantly haunted by the fear that one minor incident dropping on a bad Tuesday is enough to wipe out your entire financial year, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because today, we aren't talking about stocks, crypto, or get-rich-quick schemes. We are diving into something much more insidious and dangerous. We are going to decode why being broke is actually the most expensive hobby you can have.
The Boots Theory: Why Being Poor is Expensive. There is a fundamental truth about money that most financial gurus get completely wrong. They preach that wealth is solely a product of discipline and that poverty is the result of bad habits. They tell you to stop buying lattes or cancel your Netflix subscription, as if saving a few dollars a month could fundamentally pivot your destiny. However, that advice ignores a core economic reality known as the Boots Theory of socioeconomic unfairness. The theory originates from the character Samuel Vimes in Terry Pratchett's novels. Honestly, it explains the wealth gap better than most economists with PhDs. The logic goes like this. Compare two men, one wealthy, one poor. The wealthy man spends $50 on a pair of high-quality leather boots with durable stitching. Those boots last him 10 years. On the other hand, the poor man cannot afford to drop $50 all at once. He only has $10. Consequently, he's forced to buy cheap boots with cardboard soles that fall apart after a single season. The following year, he has to spend another $10, and the year after that. Over a decade, the poor man has spent $100 on boots, double what the wealthy man spent, yet his feet are still wet, while the wealthy man remains dry, comfortable, and $50 richer. This is the mathematics of poverty. You are forced to pay a premium for your lack of initial capital. You might be thinking, okay, Leo, that's a nice story about boots, but how does it apply to real life in 2026? Look around you. This dynamic is omnipresent. Take something as basic as toilet paper. The capital advantage. If you have $50 to spare, you go to a bulk warehouse like Costco and buy a mega pack. The cost per roll is roughly 50 cents. You are set for months. The scarcity tax. If you are living paycheck to paycheck, you cannot afford to lock up $50 in toilet paper inventory. You have $4. So you go to the corner bodega and buy a 4-pack for $1.50 per roll. You are literally paying 3 times more for the exact same product simply because you couldn't afford the bulk price. This is what we call the poverty premium. It applies to laundry detergent, diapers, non-perishable food, and almost every household good. Mathematically, if you are broke, your personal inflation rate is technically higher than a wealthy person's because you are perpetually locked out of economies of scale. This disparity extends into the financial sector. Those with assets and high credit scores can borrow money at near zero interest rates to invest or purchase property. Conversely, the poor, those who actually need financial leverage, are pushed toward payday loans or high-interest credit cards with predatory rates. When you have no money, the cost of buying money is exponentially higher than it is for those who already have it. The wealthy use money to buy time, while the poor must sacrifice time and health to compensate for a lack of funds. Using inferior products, whether it's wet boots or low-quality processed food, leads to chronic health issues down the line. Ultimately, the massive medical bills resulting from this short-term saving is the final blow that snaps the financial trap shut for good. Hello, my name is Leo, and it's time we stop blaming small habits and start decoding the actual mechanisms that keep people stuck on the financial hamster wheel.
The story gets much darker than just grocery bills. It becomes truly predatory when we look at the banking system. This is where I get genuinely frustrated, because the architecture of the system seems designed to punish those who are already teetering on the edge. If you have $25,000 in your account, the bank treats you as a priority client. They waive all management fees, provide premium debit cards, and offer dedicated personal support. But imagine you are struggling with only $40 left. A small maintenance fee or an automated membership renewal you forgot about suddenly hits for $45. Your account is now negative $5. Instead of a supportive notification, the bank immediately slaps you with an overdraft fee of $30. Look at the math. You essentially borrowed $5 from the bank for a few days at the price of $30. That is an interest rate equivalent to 600% for a simple transaction. If an individual did this on the street, they could be charged with usury. But when a bank does it, it's called standard operating procedure. Every year, the financial system rakes in tens of billions of dollars in fees, paid almost exclusively by those with the lowest balances. The rich are rewarded with interest, the poor are penalized with fees. It is a reverse wealth transfer, legalized under the guise of service charges. The barrier to investment opportunities. This system also creates a threshold that the poor can rarely cross. To participate in investment funds with stable returns of 10–12% per year, you often need a minimum capital, say $5,000. Meanwhile, those with little capital can keep their money in savings accounts with near zero interest, which doesn't even keep up with the pace of currency devaluation. Consequently, the wealth of the rich grows automatically, while the meager savings of the poor are eroded by inflation every single day. I know some will say, well, simply manage your spending more strictly. Don't spend more than you have. Theoretically, that's perfect, but in reality, psychology presents a massive hurdle. There is a concept called the scarcity mindset. Scientific studies have proven that when you are facing the pressure of debt or don't know where next month's rent is coming from, your functional IQ can drop by as much as 14 points, the equivalent of staying awake all night to work.
When the brain is hijacked by survival instincts, you lose the capacity for long-term planning. This is why people in financial distress often make decisions that outsiders call short-sighted, taking high-interest app loans, gambling on long shots, or buying cheap entertainment to escape the stress. They don't lack willpower, they lack cognitive bandwidth. The Boots theory isn't just a story about physical goods, it's the mathematics of mental energy. The wealthy don't just save money, they save thousands of hours of worrying about basic needs. They use that idle brain capacity to create, learn, and seize opportunities. Conversely, the poor are trapped in a constant panic loop where every intellectual resource is burned just to survive the day. The erosion of self-esteem and ambition. Poverty doesn't just attack the wallet, it attacks a person's belief in themselves. Constantly failing to keep up with bills creates a psychological state of learned helplessness. Prolonged stress increases cortisol levels, leading to physical exhaustion and a paralyzed will to break through. When someone has spent all their energy just surviving, they often lack the fuel left to thrive. And we need to understand this. To escape this cycle, we don't just need money, we need a strategy to liberate the mind from the trap of scarcity.
The financial megatraps, from transport to shelter. Let's dig deeper into the buy nice or buy twice phenomenon with assets much larger than boots. Vehicles. In most modern cities, unless you live in the dense urban core, a car isn't a luxury, it's your ticket to a job. A person with a stable financial foundation will choose a 3-year-old Toyota or Honda. At roughly $22,000, they pay in cash or secure a low-interest loan at around 4 to 5%. That car will run reliably for a decade with nothing but routine oil changes. The total cost of ownership is incredibly low. Now, look at the individual with poor credit and zero savings. They need a car just to reach the job that pays the bills. They're forced into buy here, pay here lots. These predatory dealerships sell them a high-mileage clunker worth perhaps $5,000, but slap on a price tag of $9,000. Because of their credit score, the interest rate is hiked to 25%. If you do the math, by the time the loan is finished, they will have paid $16,000 for a $5,000 pile of scrap metal. And here is the fatal blow. The car often breaks down completely before the loan is even paid off. They end up paying off a dead car while simultaneously trying to finance another one. This is the poverty trap in high definition. You aren't just paying for a vehicle, you're paying a risk premium because society has labeled you risky. And the only way to stop being risky is to have money, money you can never save because you're busy paying that very premium. The insurance and emergency repair trap. This injustice extends to operating costs. A wealthy person has a newer car and better insurance, keeping their monthly premiums low and their repairs covered by warranties. A person in poverty driving an older vehicle often faces higher insurance rates due to their zip code or credit history. When the car breaks down unexpectedly, they lack an emergency fund and are forced to use high-interest credit cards for repairs, creating a new spiral of debt on top of the old one. Housing, the tax on occupying space. We haven't even touched on housing. The choice between renting and owning is the ultimate manifestation of the Boots theory. When you rent, you're essentially paying 100% interest. You gain zero equity. You are paying your landlord's mortgage plus their profit margin. To buy a home, you need a down payment, roughly $20,000 to $30,000. If you're spending 50% of your income on skyrocketing rent, you will never accumulate that lump sum. You're trapped paying $2,200 a month for an apartment that would only cost $1,400 in principal and interest if you owned it. The wealthy person buys the house, lowers their monthly overhead, and builds an asset that appreciates over time. The poor person pays more every month for an asset they will never own. The loss of control and stability. Homeowners have control over their costs through fixed-rate mortgages, while renters are entirely at the mercy of market volatility.
Every time a landlord raises the rent or reclaims the property, the tenant incurs massive costs to relocate, pay new deposits, and reset their life. This instability doesn't just drain the wallet, it erodes the mental capacity needed to focus on career advancement. Poverty is an expensive experience because you are renting your entire existence. You rent your shelter. You rent your money through credit card interest. You even rent your own stability. And it's time we recognize that this system isn't just unfair, it is a mathematical structure designed to keep you stationary. We need a strategy for fundamental change rather than just trying to work harder in a rigged game.
The time tax, the invisible thief of your future. This is where it gets truly chilling. Poverty doesn't just drain your wallet, it imposes a direct tax on your most finite resource, your time. Consider the simplest tasks, like laundry. If you own a washer and dryer at home, laundry takes exactly 5 minutes of active effort. You throw the clothes in and press a button. But if you can't afford the machines, you have to go to a laundromat. You don't just lose a few dollars in quarters, you lose 2 hours of your life traveling, waiting, and returning. That is 2 hours you cannot spend working, resting, or being with your family. If you value your time even at minimum wage, the true cost of that laundry becomes astronomical. The same applies to food deserts. In low-income areas, large supermarkets with fair prices are often non-existent. You are stuck with convenience stores and their inflated prices. To get to a real grocery store, you must take a bus, pay the fare, and sacrifice an hour of travel. The friction of daily life is inversely proportional to your bank balance. Everything is harder, everything takes longer. And when poverty steals your time, it is effectively stealing your upward mobility and your future earning potential. Decision tax and willpower depletion. The poor pay another hidden tax, decision fatigue. When you have money, shopping is instantaneous. When you are broke, every tiny purchase becomes a grueling mental battle of trade-offs. This constant drain on mental energy leaves you exhausted by the end of the day, leaving you with zero willpower to study or pursue long-term goals. I know what you're thinking. Leo, this is depressing. Is the system rigged for me to fail just because I can't afford the good boots? Yes, it is harsh, but understanding the mathematics of unfairness is the only way to break it. Most people ignore these numbers because they are painful, but the numbers are your only exit strategy. Standard financial advice tells you to invest in the stock market for an 8% return. But if you are struggling, the best investment isn't the S&P 500. It is escaping the Boots theory penalties. If you have credit card debt at 20% interest, paying it off is a guaranteed 20% return. No stock picker on earth can promise you that. If you buy a durable $50 toaster instead of a $10 one that breaks every year, that is a massive return on investment. The first step out of the trap isn't trying to get rich, it's stopping the financial bleeding. This is where the buffer becomes life-saving. The only way to stop buying cheap boots is to create an artificial period of extreme austerity to save up for the quality ones. That first emergency fund, roughly $1,000, is not just boring advice, it is a weapon to destroy the poverty premium. When you have $1,000 in the bank, a flat tire is a mere annoyance, not a financial crisis that drives you into the arms of predatory lenders. You can raise your insurance deductible to lower your monthly premiums. Do you see what happened? Having savings actually lowered your monthly bills. You can buy essentials in bulk and fix small leaks immediately before they turn into costly disasters. Shifting from defensive to offensive mindset. That first $1,000 is the hardest money you will ever save, but it grants you the ultimate power, the power to say no. It allows you to reject a toxic, low-paying job or a predatory financial deal. With a buffer, you no longer make decisions based on the fear of tomorrow, but on the strategy of next year. You shift from playing defense to playing offense in the financial game. And remember,
Poverty is a mathematical equation, and every equation has a solution. Start building your buffer today. Mindset shift. Buying your future freedom. You need to start looking at your purchases not just as spending, but as permanently solving a problem. When you have a small amount of cash in hand, the greatest temptation is to treat yourself because you've been deprived for so long. That is the psychological trap. You buy a lavish dinner or a trendy piece of clothing just to feel normal for a moment. But if you take that cash and buy a set of ultra-durable tires, pay for a comprehensive health insurance plan, or settle a dental issue before it turns into a $3,000 surgery, you are effectively buying back your future freedom. You are paying off the poverty tax in full, so you never have to pay it again. This requires a shift in thinking from, "Can I afford this monthly installment?" to, "What is the total lifetime cost of ownership?" Dealerships and retailers want you to focus on a tiny monthly payment because it hides the brutal reality of interest. The system relies on your ignorance of these mechanics. They bank on your late fees. They budget for your overdrafts. They depend on you buying disposable razors forever instead of a high-quality safety razor that lasts a lifetime. When you start making decisions based on the Boots theory, you become a bad customer for them, but an excellent CFO for your own life. Get angry at the math. Use that frustration. Every time you see a convenience fee, let that anger drive you to build your buffer. You are fighting a war against entropy, and your ammunition is liquidity. Investing in the power of maintenance. Wealth often begins with maintenance instead of replacement. The poor often wait until something breaks completely to fix it, leading to massive costs. Someone with the good boots mindset invests in preventative maintenance. Spending $100 on a routine inspection can save you from a $2,000 emergency repair bill. Buying freedom means buying the peace of mind that the world around you won't suddenly collapse. So what is the concrete step here? It's not flashy, it's not buying crypto, it is this. Audit your life for vampire costs caused by being broke. Look at where you are bleeding money simply because you lack capital. Are you paying high-risk insurance premiums? Are you carrying an 18% interest rate on an old car? Are you buying single rolls of paper towels at twice the bulk price? Identify the biggest leak. Then ruthlessly cut everything else, and I mean everything, until you have the cash to plug that specific hole. If you need $700 for an engine overhaul to stop your car from guzzling oil, selling old clothes or working extra shifts isn't just earning cash, it's a strategic strike against future expenses. You are buying your way out of the trap, one pair of boots at a time. The law of financial momentum. This journey is not fair. To get from zero to your first $5,000, it will take 10 times more effort than going from $5,000 to $50,000. The wind is strongest against you at the very start. But once you understand that poverty is a mathematical penalty, you can stop blaming yourself and start attacking the penalties directly. You stop playing their game and start playing yours. You buy the boots that last. You buy the freedom to say no to toxic loans. And eventually, you walk right out of that hole with your head held high. If this video sparked something in you, if you realized you've been paying the poverty premium without even knowing it, do me a favor and share this with someone who needs to hear it. We talk enough about the big wins, but rarely about the subtle traps. Hit that subscribe button because we are going to keep breaking down these financial truths until we all have the highest quality boots. I'm Leo. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.